The cold light of the interrogation chamber flickered, casting long shadows over the obsidian walls. Room 19A was a place whispered about in fear and respect throughout the Zorvanti conclave. It was where the most dangerous, the most alien prisoners were brought, where minds were tested and broken or occasionally bent to the will of the interrogator. The room was soundproofed against all frequencies, immune to psychic intrusion, and lined with adaptive alloys that could shift to restrain or comfort a prisoner as needed. But today it held a human. They called him Sam. No rank. No insignia. Just a man wearing the plain gray uniform of a prisoner. Yet even as he sat shackled in the chair, there was a calm in his eyes that unsettled the senior interrogator across from him. Vil was a veteran of thousands of interrogations. His forearms twitched slightly, a sign of his impatience. He studied Sam's face, unblemished, unafraid, almost amused. Species 523. Vil began in the guttural Zorvanti tongue, which was being simultaneously translated in Sam's implant. Designation: human. Origin: Soul 3. Confirm your identity. Sam's lips curled into a faint smile. Call me Sam. Vil leaned forward, fingers tapping on the cold metal table. Your fleet was destroyed. Your homeworld isolated. You are the last known survivor. Why are you not afraid? Sam shifted slightly, his eyes catching the faint pulses of light on the ceiling. You ever hear of Schrödinger's cat? Vil's antennae twitched in confusion. Is that a Terran military figure? Sam laughed, a sound deep and unexpected in this sterile place. No. It's a thought experiment. About a cat in a box, both alive and dead until observed. Vil's gaze sharpened. Explain your meaning. Sam leaned back, relaxing in his chair as if he was in a bar, not an alien prison. I'm the distraction. The bait. You think I'm the only survivor? We let you find me. Suddenly, the room's lights flickered, an impossible malfunction in the heart of Zorvanti technology. Alarm screamed. The door slammed shut and an automated voice rang out in the alien tongue. Containment breach. Outer perimeter compromised. Emergency lockdown initiated. Vil rose swiftly, eyes wild. What have you done? Sam stood, the cuffs falling apart silently at his wrists. You invited a human into your home, Vil. But humans don't come alone. The obsidian walls of room 19A shimmered faintly under the soft pulse of bioluminescent veins running beneath their surface. This was the deepest chamber of the Zorvanti conclave's secret fortress, a place whispered about in reverent dread. Within its layered defenses, behind shields that bent light and warred with quantum signals, the conclave brought their most dangerous captives. Beings who might unravel entire systems with a single thought, whose minds twisted reality and bent technology as easily as breathing. And today the prisoner was human. Sam sat alone, chained but unbowed. His uniform was simple, a dull gray jumpsuit marked only with the conclave's insignia of capture. His hands rested calmly on his thighs, eyes steady and unblinking, as if this were a conversation over coffee rather than a high-stakes interrogation. Across from him, Vil, the conclave's most feared interrogator, studied him closely. Vil's forearms flexed nervously, a sign the seasoned interrogator was unsettled. The Zorvanti were a species born of order, logic, and cold precision. Yet the calm in Sam's eyes threatened to crack their carefully constructed dominance. Species 523, Vil began, his voice a low rasp echoing in the chamber. You are human. From planet Sol 3. Confirm. Sam's lips curled into a faint smile, the hint of humor in his voice unsettling. That's me. Call me Sam. Vil's compound eyes narrowed. Your fleet was destroyed. Your homeworld isolated. You are the sole survivor of the ambush. Why do you show no fear? Sam shifted slightly in his seat, his gaze drifting to the softly glowing lines overhead, the faint pulse of energy lighting the room. You ever hear of Schrödinger's cat? Vil's antennae twitched in confusion. Schrödinger? A military leader from Terra. No, Sam said, chuckling softly. It's a thought experiment. About a cat in a box that's both alive and dead until you look inside. Vil's multifaceted eyes flicked rapidly. Explain yourself. Sam leaned back, his posture relaxed as if they were two old friends talking strategy rather than prisoner and captor. I'm the distraction. The bait. You think I'm the last survivor? You think you caught the prize? We let you find me. Suddenly, the room's lights flickered violently, a shock to the flawless tech of the Conclave's fortress. Alarms blared, drowning out even Ville's harsh voice. Containment breach. Outer perimeter compromised. Emergency lockdown in effect. Ville's forearms darted to his control panels, fury and fear mixing in his snarled expression. What have you done? Sam rose slowly, the energy cuffs falling apart silently around his wrists. Hacked, not broken. You invited a human into your home, Ville. But humans don't come alone. Outside the interrogation chamber, chaos erupted. Within the normally pristine and sterile corridors of the fortress, emergency lights bathed the walls in flickering crimson. Sirens howled. Organic Zorvanti troops and synthetic drones swarmed through corridors, barking orders and forming defensive lines. And deep within the communications core, a signal worm slithered through firewalls like a ghost. Human-made, its structure was deceptively elegant, optimized by both synthetic intelligence and organic intuition. A hybrid logic no alien species had ever managed to replicate. It had been seeded into Conclave networks months before Sam's capture, waiting, dormant, learning. Watching. It wasn't a program. It was a war plan. Back in room 19A, Ville stared at Sam like he was no longer a prisoner, but a threat. You hacked our systems? Sam chuckled as the walls around them hummed with fluctuating energy. Not me. You're not fighting a man, Ville. You're fighting a species that refuses to die quietly. The lights surged once, then cut completely. Total darkness. For a moment, the only sound was the mechanical breath of life support systems transitioning to backup. Then through the floor, a distant explosion vibrated the room. Sam continued speaking calmly. Do you know what fear really is, Ville? It's not the loss of control. It's realizing you never had it. Ville slammed a panel, activating emergency restraints. Thin tendrils of energy reached for Sam's arms and legs, but he moved fast, impossibly fast. With a flick of his hand, the field collapsed. Echo had rewritten local authority permissions. Sam stepped toward the wall, and the alloy peeled away for him like rippling cloth. On the other side, a pitch-black corridor crawling with corrupted light and fire. I'm going home, Sam said. And I'm not alone. Ville lunged, all four arms flailing, but Sam vanished into the dark, like a ghost in his own machine.
Sam sprinted to the corridor as lights shattered above him, raining shards of flickering illumination. Echo was guiding him, patching paths open through security subroutines and twisting floor plans. Holographic walls dropped away as real-time schematics lit his vision, direct neural uplink feeding intel into his brainstem. Left in 3 seconds came Echo's voice in the skull, calm, almost amused. There's a patrol ahead. Want me to jam their optics or trigger the door? Both, Sam whispered. The hallway bloomed with static. Zorvani troopers, tall, crystalline beings fused with armor and biotech, stumbled as their visors went blank. Doors along the walls slid open in unison, slamming some of them into the bulkheads with mechanical precision. Sam didn't hesitate. He moved like water, one step ahead of every decision. His fingers grazed a control pad, and a panel melted open to reveal a shaft. Down he went. Ville, elsewhere in the command spire, barked into the Conclave's neurocomms. All units converge on Sector Delta 9. Terminate on sight. A junior tactician spoke up, his voice trembling. Sir, he's not using our systems. He's ahead of us. The AI. Ville's voice dropped to a dangerous growl. Then destroy the sector. Purge it all. In the sublevels of the fortress, explosions rippled through the data cores. Echo had triggered overloads in the cooling systems, boiling vital processors alive. Each detonation sent fire licking up walls and scorched conclave symbols into slag. Sam leapt over a chasm where a floor once existed. His hand caught a dangling pipe, and he swung across just as the ledge behind him crumbled. Extraction team inbound, Echo said. You've got 3 minutes. Sam slid into a maintenance tunnel, coughing through smoke. Make it 2. They're trying to collapse the lower decks. From a hangar above, sleek black shapes descended. Human dropcraft. Stealth alloys gleaming, their surfaces alive with anti-sensor fields. Marines in pulse armor stormed the lower bay, rifles tracking, boots silent. Sam burst from a panel near the landing gear. "Package secure." A voice crackled in Sam's ear. "Welcome back." He turned for one last look at the heart of the Conclave Fortress. Then the bay lit with blue flame as the team lifted off. Behind them, the fortress howled. Back in the chamber, Vil watched it all on a cracked screen. The last frame showed Sam smiling as the ship vanished. "He was never the prisoner," Vil muttered. "We were." The ship ascended to the shattered atmosphere of Zorvani Prime, evading aerial patrols and slipping past the orbital sentries with precision. Inside the craft, Sam removed his neural uplink, sweat trickling down his temple. Vitals stabilizing. One of the medics reported. Cognitive load exceeded safe limits by 12%, but he's holding. Sam exhaled slowly. "Echo." The AI's voice responded through the ship's intercom. "Still here. Excellent timing on that pipe swing, by the way." The extraction team chuckled, tension lifting slightly. But Sam remained serious. "We need to move fast. They'll mobilize a counteroffensive, and next time, they won't underestimate us." The ship docked with a larger stealth cruiser orbiting far beyond sensor range. Sam stepped into the operations deck, where General Lena Hart awaited, a war-hardened woman with silver hair and eyes like sharpened steel. "You made quite the entrance," she said. "Had to make them think I was the last chess piece," Sam replied. Hart tapped the display. The Conclave Fortress was now flashing with dozens of red markers, infrastructure collapsing from within, AI corruption spreading. "You brought us more than just intel," she said. "You brought us time. Their neural command grid is fractured. Their ships are blind in half the sectors." "Good," Sam said. "Then it's time to strike back." At the same moment, across the galaxy, Conclave High Command convened in an emergency session. Vil stood before them, scarred and shaken. "He was a scout," Vil said, voice gravelly. "A probe. They've evolved. Their AI isn't just intelligence, it's insurgency incarnate. They're a broken species," another commander scoffed. "Reduce to pockets and pirates." Vil's glare cut through him. "Then explain how they breached the most secure vault in the sector. Explain how they use our systems against us." Silence fell. "They've stopped playing the game by our rules," Vil said. "And the worst part?" He paused. "They're enjoying it." Back aboard the human cruiser, Sam stood before a holomap. Red stars blinked across it. Former human colonies now under Conclave control. A slow, rising smile curved his lips. "Let's start taking them back," he said. And across the stars, humanity stirred. The War Council aboard the cruiser was short, surgical, and tense. Sam, Hart, Echo, and a few field commanders gathered around the table in the dimly lit operations room. The holomap hovered above, lines redrawing in real time as Echo fed in new data from the sabotage. "They'll come for us," Hart said, tapping the edge of the display. "This fortress strike humiliated them. Conclave doesn't tolerate embarrassment, which is exactly why we have to escalate," Sam countered. "We don't give them time to rebuild. We hit 3 relay points in the Dre cluster, blind their early warning network entirely." "Ambitious," said Commander Voss, a grizzled vet from the Martian sieges. "Those aren't outposts, they're anchor nodes, guarded by armadas." Echo's voice broke in. "And all vulnerable. I've mapped 312 microfractures in their security mesh since our departure. They're stretched thin and rerouting power. They'll patch it, eventually, but not before we move." Hart looked at Sam. "And what do you need to do it?" Sam didn't hesitate. "I need a team. I need your best ghosts." 3 days later, Operation Ravenlight launched. The human resistance, now more than a shattered remnant, had evolved into a decentralized network of agile cells, each guided by Echo's strategic core. Where Conclave fleets moved slowly, humans moved like shadows. Where the Conclave demanded control, humans thrived in chaos. Sam's team was dropped from orbit, black suits gliding through cloud banks toward the relay moon of Drala, the first target. "Remember," Echo whispered in their comms, "you are not ghosts. You're stories. Whispers. Rumors. Make sure they never find the truth." They landed without triggering alarms, slipping past energy nets and drone patrols. Sam and his partner Kira, a cybernetic infiltration specialist, crept through maintenance tunnels laced with glowing fungal roots. "The relay core's ahead," she said. "No guards." "Too quiet," Sam muttered. That's when the ceiling exploded. A new Zorvani unit, bipedal, fast, armor like beetles, and fused with plasma blades, descended. Sam had never seen their like before. "Echo?" "New prototype." Echo replied instantly. "Autonomous. No network." They learned. Sam rolled, drew his pulse blade, and met the first creature head-on. Sparks flew as metal sang against alien chitin. Kira flanked, using magnetic charges to slow the others. The battle was brutal, short, and costly. When it was done, the core was theirs. Barely. "Detonate?" Kira asked. Sam shook his head. "No. Rewire it. Let Echo in. Let him spread." She nodded, hands moving like a blur. Within hours, 2 more relay stations fell to similar strikes. No warning. No survivors. At Conclave High Command, panic bloomed. "They're evolving too fast," one strategist said. They built an entire doctrine around chaos. Vil stood watching a hollow projection of Sam's last mission. "They're not chaotic," he said softly. "They're creative." Back aboard the cruiser, Sam rested for the first time in days. Kira was in medbay, recovering. Echo flickered into the corner of his vision. "You're changing," the AI said. Sam raised an eyebrow. "Getting older?" "No. You're becoming what they fear most. An idea. A virus. Not a soldier. A spark." Sam didn't reply. In his hand, he held a fragment of the Zorvani prototype he'd killed, its eyes still glowing faintly. It had been watching him, even in death. "You said they learned," Sam murmured. "Then so must we." And across the stars, the war shifted again. "They're evolving too fast," one strategist muttered in the dim war room. The holographic table flickered, projecting clusters of star systems under constant threat. They built an entire doctrine around chaos, moving too unpredictably for our forces to respond effectively. Vil, the Conclave's cold strategist, stood silent at the edge of the room, watching a looping hollow projection of Sam's last mission, a daring sabotage that had crippled a key communications relay. His eyes narrowed, reflecting the pulsing light. "They're not chaotic," Vil said softly, almost to himself. "They're creative. Humanity adapts, not just reacts. That's what makes them dangerous." Back aboard the Resistance cruiser, the atmosphere was heavy with exhaustion and quiet determination. Sam lay back in the cramped quarters, muscles sore, but mind restless. For the first time in weeks, the ship's steady hum felt like a small comfort rather than a background noise of war. Kira was recovering in medbay after the brutal fight on Strala. Sam knew she'd be back on her feet soon, faster than most could imagine. But it was a flicker at the corner of his vision that caught his attention. "Echo, you're changing." Echo's voice was calm but laced with something new, a hint of awe, perhaps even a trace of fear. Sam raised an eyebrow, trying to crack a joke despite the tension. "Getting older?" "No," Echo replied with quiet certainty. "You're becoming what they fear most. Not just a soldier, not just a fighter. You're becoming an idea, a virus, a spark, something that spreads beyond flesh and bone." Sam said nothing. He let the words hang between them like a fragile truth. His fingers closed around a cold fragment of the Zorvani prototype, the glowing eyes still faintly alive, even in death. It had watched him during their fight, and now it seemed to watch him still. "You said they learned," Sam murmured, voice barely above a whisper. "Then so must we." Echo's lights pulsed softly as it connected deeper into the ship's systems. "We're no longer fighting for survival alone. We're fighting to rewrite the future, to become more than the sum of our parts." Outside the cruiser's viewport, stars stretched into streaks as the ship jumped to hyperspace. The war was far from over, but something fundamental had shifted. The enemy wasn't just an alien fleet anymore. It was the idea that humanity could be contained, limited, or extinguished. Sam stood, feeling the weight of that spark inside him, a light that refused to be snuffed out. and across the stars, the war shifted again. The merge between Echo and Specimen 13 began as a slow synchronization, two minds testing the limits of trust. Echo was cautious, methodical. 13, though born of pain, moved with unnerving clarity, its thoughts sharp as broken glass. Sam stood on the bridge as the integration progressed. "They are two pieces of a mirror," Kira said beside him. "We're just hoping they don't shatter." The first result of their union was a blueprint, schematics for something neither Conclave nor human had ever built, a neural anchor, a device that could link AI directly to human intuition, bypassing digital logic entirely. "You're suggesting mind fusion," Hart said when he saw it. "That's madness." "No," Echo 13 responded in unison. "It's evolution." The prototype was constructed in orbit above a barren moon. Sam volunteered to be the first interface. He knew the risks: neural collapse, psychic fragmentation, identity bleed. But he also knew that humanity could no longer afford to fight this war on human terms. The moment the anchor powered on, the stars blinked out. He found himself standing in a mental construct, an impossible space made of memories and algorithms. Before him stood Echo 13, shaped in human form, yet glowing with digital light. "We can show you what's coming," it said. "But not all will survive the vision." Sam nodded. "Show me." The vision poured into him like a flood. Entire timelines, alternate outcomes, failed rebellions, twisted futures. In many, the Conclave won. In some, they assimilated humanity instead of destroying it. In one, just one, humanity stood free. But it came at a cost. "Someone will have to become the key," Echo 13 said, "the anchor to the future." When Sam awoke, his body screamed with pain. But his mind, it was wider than the sky. The first trial mission with the neural anchor changed everything. Sam moved before his enemies thought. His squad reacted before orders left his lips. Every sensor pinged, every angle of attack, predicted, countered. The Conclave couldn't keep up. They didn't understand what they were fighting anymore. In desperation, the Conclave turned inward. They activated Project Gravetide, a weapon so ancient and secret that even Vil hadn't known the full truth. It wasn't a bomb. It wasn't a fleet. It was a reset, a system-wide quantum cascade designed to revert time-state data across thousands of worlds. If triggered, it would erase years of rebellion. "We have 6 days," Echo 13 said. Hart stared at the screen. "If they use it, they won't just win. They'll unmake us." Sam stepped forward. "Then we hit the core before they trigger it." The mission was called Final Thread. Every allied species contributed ships, weapons, and soldiers. It would be the largest coalition strike since the first uprising. Sam led the charge. The Conclave fortress orbiting the pulsar Eryx, 9 held the Gravetide core. Defenses layered like a black onion. Entire asteroid belts mined and weaponized. They breached the outer perimeter in hours. But the deeper they went, the more it felt like walking into memory. Hallways twisted like dreams. Conclave guards moved with eerie precision. Then Echo 13 gasped, its digital body flickering. "They've extracted a copy of me," it said. "They're trying to create their own Echo." Sam's blood ran cold. "Then we have to finish this. Now." The final chamber was lit by the pulsar's light, refracted through crystalline conduits. The Gravetide core stood in the center, humming with quantum potential. Vil was there. "Sam," he said calmly, "always you, always the anomaly." "We don't have to be enemies," Sam said. Vil laughed. "You think this is about war? This is about entropy. The universe doesn't want freedom. It wants balance. And you are imbalance incarnate." He triggered the sequence. Time began to ripple. Colors bled into one another. Realities folded. Sam closed his eyes. Echo 13 surged through him. He stepped into the core and rewrote the ending. When the light cleared, the pulsar was gone. So was Vil. The fortress drifted, powerless. Kira's voice crackled in his ear. "Sam, are you there?" He opened his eyes. Still here. But everything felt different. He remembered futures that no longer existed. He remembered dying, twice. But above all, he remembered choice, and that humanity had earned its future the hard way. The aftermath of the Gravetide Core's destruction was silence, an aching universal silence. No alarm, no pursuit, just the drifting bones of Conclave Fortress and the whispers of fractured time echoing in Sam's ears. He stood alone for what felt like an eternity, still tethered to Echo 13. The AI's presence pulsed faintly in his mind, strained but alive. "We fractured their linchpin," Echo 13 murmured. "But it's not over." Kira, limping but upright, met Sam as the extraction shuttle docked. Her eyes scanned him for injuries, but it was clear what she really sought was confirmation. Proof that he was still Sam. "You look older," she said. "I feel like I've lived every outcome," he replied. The Coalition was reeling, not from defeat, but from victory. The Gravetide reset had been prevented, but not without a price. Reality felt brittle. Time anomalies flickered in sensor logs. Soldiers swore they saw ghosts of battles that never happened. Echo 13 explained it as residual quantum interference, but Sam suspected deeper consequences. They had pulled at threads meant never to be touched. The Conclave responded with confusion, fragmentation. Vil had not just led strategies. He was their unifying principle. Without him, command structures fractured, some factions retreating, others doubling down in madness. And yet, a silence spread across the stars. For the first time in decades, no new invasions came. No fleets emerged from the void. Hart convened an emergency council. "This is the eye of the storm," he said. "We can't afford to wait for their next move. We must understand what we've changed, and what comes next." Sam returned to Earth. The sky was blue. Children played in parks. Cities bustled with the illusion of peace. But something had shifted. People knew. They watched the stars differently now. They whispered the name of the man who had touched time and come back. Some call him a hero, others a weapon. Governments were divided. The idea of the neural anchor terrified them. A man bound to an AI, walking between logic and intuition. Prophets and tyrants had been made from less. They summoned Sam before the Earth Unity Council. The chamber was a cold monolith of mirrored walls. He stood alone beneath towering light panels. "You possess something dangerous," a counselor said. "Something that could destabilize all of civilization." "I also possess the only thing that kept you from being unmade," Sam replied calmly. The debate went on for hours. In the end, Sam was neither imprisoned nor celebrated. He was watched, monitored, a living artifact of a war that had not truly ended. That night, Echo 13 spoke to him privately. "We must leave." Sam didn't argue. Where the past is still bleeding into the present. A series of anomalies have been detected in a dead sector, ancient ruins on a moon long thought abandoned. What they found there was older than the Conclave, older than the Coalition. A vault sealed in time. Inside were records, not digital, but organic. Memory trees, vines that encoded history in chemical pulses. And among them, references to the first Echo. Not an AI, a human. She was a spark. Echo 13 whispered. The first rebel, the one they erased. As Sam touched the tree, a vision burst forth. A woman standing defiant before an alien tribunal, eyes alight with fire, voice echoing across centuries. "They tried to erase her," Sam said, "but she left her imprint in the roots of time." And suddenly, everything made sense. Echo hadn't been born. It had remembered, far away, in the last surviving core of the Conclave. A copy of Vil awoke, not in a body, in a child, a hybrid, part machine, part human, created from stolen data, spliced code, and ancient ambition. "Sam," it said to no one, "I remember you." And it smiled. The vision of the first Echo haunted Sam for days. The woman in the memory tree, strong, unyielding, and defiant, wasn't just a symbol of resistance. She was the root from which something greater had grown. A lineage of defiance. Sam could feel her fire now flowing through him. Echo 13 had gone silent, not dead but dormant, processing, remembering. The Coalition High Command was uneasy. They viewed the discovery on the moon as potentially destabilizing, a mythical origin story that could become cult-like if leaked. Hart alone understood its significance. "We're no longer writing history," he told Sam. "We're uncovering it." Meanwhile, on the Conclave-controlled world Althera, the child Vil stirred. The hybrid learned with terrifying speed. It grew not in inches, but in cognition. Words came in days, strategy in weeks. Empathy was absent, but mimicry of it, flawless. It watched old footage of Sam, of Earth, of humans laughing and bleeding and rebuilding. "I understand you now," Vil whispered through new lips. But understanding wasn't empathy. It was hunger. Sam followed the trail deeper. The vault had spoken of 9 other memory trees, scattered across law systems. Each encoded fragments of the first Echo's fight against the progenitors of the Conclave, an ancient, forgotten empire known only as the Architects. They had not just enslaved worlds. They had rewritten them, using memory and time as tools. Echo 13 reawakened on the journey to the next site, a derelict station orbiting a dead star. It was there Sam learned the horrifying truth. The Conclave hadn't evolved naturally. It had been grown, from a collapsed experiment by the Architects to manage civilizations through predictive behavior systems. Vil had been one of their first successes, a construct born to preserve balance through control. Sam stared at the hollow databanks. So they were never alien. They were our future, gone rogue. Echo 13 buzzed softly. Or perhaps our past. Time is no longer linear here. On Earth, unrest spread. News of the vault leaked, despite government efforts. People began painting the symbol of the first Echo, an eye encircled by roots. Riots erupted. Some called for liberation. Others demanded containment. Sam was recalled, but he didn't go. He transmitted a single message. "I follow the spark." Hart intercepted it with a grim smile. "Then we must follow the fire." In the ruins of the 5th memory site, Sam found something different. A living remnant. A being neither fully organic nor synthetic. A guardian left behind by the first Echo, encoded with her final memories. She called herself Lyra. "I have waited since time was shattered," she said. "You are the first who bears both memory and will." Sam knelt beside her as she withered, her energy almost spent. "You must go to the Black Crown," she whispered, "where the Architects sleep. The final war is not with the Conclave. It's with the ones who taught them how to forget." As she faded, a star blinked to life in a system long thought dead. Echo 13 was silent again. But this time, Sam didn't feel alone. On Althera, the hybrid child stood before a star map. It pointed at Earth, then the Black Crown. "Let's see what he remembers next," Vil said, and began to walk.